Black delivery woman found shot Arab millionaire holding baby, not knowing he was the mafia boss. Blood mixed with rainwater, forming a dark river on the asphalt of the industrial alley. Destiny Williams, 26 years old, froze with the thermal bag still in her hands when she saw the scene. A man in an expensive suit was slumped against the brick wall, breathing with difficulty. In his arms, a baby of approximately 8 months was crying desperately. And in his right hand, a gun pointed directly at Destiny's chest. "Get out of here." His voice was a hoarse whisper, heavy with an accent. "Now, or you die." Destiny didn't move. Her trained eyes had already identified the dark stain spreading across his left shoulder. Gunshot wound. Arterial bleeding. He had minutes, maybe less. "You need a hospital." "No." He tried to raise the gun, but the effort made his face contort in pain. "No hospital. No police. They'll find her." The baby kept crying, the sound echoing through the empty alley. Destiny looked at the child, then at the man who was clearly dying, then at the darkness around them. The delivery app had sent her to this address. A $200 sushi order to an abandoned warehouse at 11 at night. Something was very wrong. "Listen to me." Destiny dropped the thermal bag and knelt in the icy water, ignoring the gun. "I was a nursing student before I dropped out. I can help you, but I need to get you out of here." "Why would you do this?" His eyes, dark and suspicious, studied her face. "You don't know me." Destiny thought about her mother. Thought about that night 3 years ago, when she found her passed out in the bathroom and didn't know what to do. When the ambulance arrived too late. When she had to hear the doctor say that if someone had acted faster, maybe. "Because the last time I found someone needing help, I did nothing." The words came out before she could stop them. "And that person died in my arms." The man was silent for a long moment. The rain kept falling. The baby kept crying. Finally, he lowered the gun. "Farid." He said the name as if it cost something precious. "My name is Farid. And this is Nadia. My daughter." Destiny wasted no time. She helped Farid stand, almost falling under his weight. 6'1" of muscle and desperation leaning on her shoulder. She grabbed the baby with her free arm, settling Nadia against her chest while guiding the stumbling father to her delivery van. The vehicle was old, with the engine complaining every time it went past 60 kilometers per hour. Destiny put Farid in the passenger seat, strapped the baby in the back seat the best she could, and drove. She knew Chicago. Knew every shortcut, every dark street, every route delivery drivers used to avoid traffic. Her apartment was 20 minutes away. She made it in 12. "You're crazy," Farid murmured, his eyes closing and opening with effort. "Taking me to your home. You don't know who I am." "You're right. I don't." Destiny glanced at him in the rearview mirror as she turned onto a side street. "But I know this baby needs her father alive. And I know you're willing to die to protect her. That tells me enough for now." Farid laughed, a weak and pained sound. "You're dangerous, Destiny Williams." "How do you know my name?" "Your badge." He pointed weakly at her chest, where the delivery app ID was still attached. Destiny Williams. 5-star rating. 3,000 deliveries. She parked behind the building, a 3-story structure that had seen better days. Climbing the stairs was a nightmare. Farid almost passed out twice. The baby woke up and started crying again. The neighbor from the second floor opened her door, saw the scene, and closed it without a word. When they finally entered Destiny's tiny apartment, she realized the absurdity of the situation. A blood-soaked man in a $10,000 suit, a baby in designer clothes, and her with her peeling walls and second-hand furniture. Lie on the couch. She was already grabbing her first aid kit, the same one she'd kept since her college days. "I'll need to remove your shirt." Farid obeyed, but his eyes remained alert, following her every movement. When Destiny cut through the expensive fabric and saw the wound, her stomach went cold. The bullet was still inside. "I need to remove this," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "It's going to hurt a lot. Do what you need to do." Destiny worked in silence, using tweezers sterilized with vodka and praying that her 2 years of medical school would be enough. Farid didn't scream. Didn't moan. just clenched his fists while she dug into his flesh searching for metal. The bullet came out with a wet sound. Destiny stitched the wound with sutures that weren't perfect, but were functional. Bandaged the shoulder. Only then did she allow her hands to tremble. In the corner of the room, Nadia had fallen asleep in the car seat Destiny had improvised as a crib. The baby looked exhausted, cheeks still stained with tears. "Who did this to you?" Destiny finally asked. Farid looked at her for a long moment. And what Destiny saw in his eyes made her realize she had just crossed a line from which there was no return. Because the man lying on her couch wasn't just a desperate father fleeing with his daughter. He was something far more dangerous. Something that explained the expensive suit, the gun, the fear of hospitals and police. And in the next few hours, Destiny would discover exactly what she had brought into her home. If you want to know who Farid really is and why someone wants him dead, subscribe to the channel now. Because this story is just beginning. Farid slept for 4 straight hours, the first time his body had relaxed since Destiny found him in that alley. She didn't sleep a single minute. She sat in the kitchen chair, watching his breathing, checking his temperature every 30 minutes, feeding Nadia with milk she improvised from a can of formula forgotten at the back of the cabinet, left over from when her cousin visited months ago. When he finally opened his eyes, the morning sun was already filtering through the cracks in the cheap curtain. "You're still here." His voice sounded surprised. "It's my apartment." Destiny was exhausted, but her mind wouldn't stop. "Did you expect me to run?" "I expected you to call the police while I slept." "I thought about it," she admitted. "But then I looked at your daughter sleeping and realized that if you were really dangerous, you wouldn't have spent the last hours bleeding to keep her safe instead of simply abandoning her." Farid tried to sit up and groaned in pain. Destiny approached instinctively, adjusting the pillows behind him. "Thank you," he said quietly. Then, after a long silence, "You deserve to know the truth." "Yes, I do. My full name is Farid Al-Mansour." He watched her, looking for recognition. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Destiny frowned. "Should it?" Al-Mansour Holdings. Construction, real estate, investments throughout the Middle East and Europe. Farid paused. "My family controls a $12 billion empire." The number hung in the air of the tiny apartment. Destiny looked at the peeling walls, at the blood-stained couch that was her only decent piece of furniture, at the pile of overdue bills on the kitchen table. "You're a billionaire." "My family is. I was just the eldest son. The heir." Something darkened on his face. "Until last night." "What happened last night?" "My younger brother, Tariq, decided he didn't want to wait for the inheritance anymore." Farid looked at Nadia, still sleeping peacefully. "He hired men to kill me. To kill my daughter. To ensure the line of succession passed directly to him." Destiny felt her stomach turn. "Your own brother?" "Family and money are a dangerous combination." Farid's voice carried deep bitterness. "My wife died giving birth to Nadia 8 months ago. Since then, Tariq saw an opportunity. A vulnerable widower, a defenseless baby, a fortune waiting. Why not go to the police? With all that money you could." "Destiny." Farid interrupted her gently. "When you have $12 billion, you don't go to the police. The police come to you, asking how they can help, asking how much the favor is worth." He shook his head. "My brother has half the Chicago police force in his pocket. Commissioners, prosecutors, judges. Why do you think they sent me to that isolated alley? The delivery order that brought you to me? It was a trap. Not for you. For me." Destiny's eyes widened. "The fake order. Someone hacked the system, created a ghost delivery, ensured I would be at that exact location at that exact moment. They knew my escape route. They knew everything. And I showed up in the middle of it. An innocent civilian." Farid nodded. "They planned to kill me and leave you as a disposable witness. But I arrived before the shooters got into position. I managed to eliminate 3 of them before I was hit." Destiny stood up abruptly, pacing the small space. Her mind was processing everything. She wasn't just a delivery driver who found an injured man. She was part of a plan. A piece on someone's board. "Why tell me all this?" She asked. I could simply hand you over to your brother, collect a reward, and solve all my financial problems. Farid studied her for a long moment. You could. But you won't. How are you so sure? Because you spent the whole night taking care of my daughter. His voice softened. I saw how you held Nadia. How you hummed to her to sleep. How you checked her breathing every few minutes. People who do that don't hand babies over to killers. Destiny had no answer for that. Farid's phone, which she had put to charge, vibrated. He looked at the screen and his face hardened. What is it? Message from my lawyer. The only man I still trust. Farid read in silence, then looked up. Tariq announced my death. Car accident. He's scheduling a press conference for this afternoon to take control of the company as the new CEO. But you're alive. And I need to stay that way for another 16 hours. Farid tried to get up from the couch and almost fell. Destiny caught him before he collapsed. Tomorrow morning, at 9 o'clock, there's a board meeting. If I show up alive, with proof of the assassination attempt, Tariq loses everything. If I don't show up, your daughter grows up an orphan and your brother becomes a billionaire. Exactly. The weight of the situation fell on Destiny like a ton of bricks. 16 hours. That was all that separated this baby from a life of protection or a life of danger. 16 hours hiding a shot man from professional assassins. Can you walk? She asked. With help. Can your lawyer send documents? Evidence. He's compiling everything. But he needs a secure location to send it. Destiny thought quickly. Her apartment wasn't safe. If they found Farid once, they'd find him again. She needed a place no one would think to look. My aunt has a cabin upstate. Destiny said slowly. It's isolated, not registered in my name, 2 hours by road. No one knows I know the place. Why are you doing this? Farid asked, genuinely confused. You don't owe me anything. No. Destiny agreed. But I owe something to myself. 3 years ago, I let my mother die because I was afraid to act. Every day since then, I ask myself what would have happened if I had been braver. She looked at Nadia, so small and innocent. I won't let another person die because I stood still. They left through the back of the building, Destiny carrying Nadia and a backpack with supplies, Farid leaning on the wall with each step. The van was where she had left it, the bloodstains on the passenger seat already darkened. Destiny started the engine and pulled out of the alley. In the rearview mirror, she saw a black car turn the corner and stop in front of her building. Get down. She whispered. Farid slid down in the seat, disappearing from view. Destiny kept a constant speed, controlled breathing, eyes fixed on the road. The black car didn't follow them. But she knew it was only a matter of time. And somewhere behind them, dangerous men were discovering that their target was still alive. The hunt had just begun. The cabin was in the middle of a dense forest, accessible only by a dirt road that most GPS systems didn't even recognize. Destiny parked the van behind a pile of firewood, invisible from the main road. Farid was worse. The fever had risen during the trip, and he could barely keep his eyes open. Destiny dragged him inside, laid him on the dusty couch, and got to work. Antibiotics from her aunt's emergency kit. Water. Cold cloths on his forehead. Nadia slept in a drawer lined with blankets, the safest improvised crib Destiny could create. You need to survive 12 more hours. Destiny murmured, changing the bandages. Can you do that for me? Farid gripped her hand with surprising strength. The documents. My lawyer. You need to call him. Destiny took his phone and dialed the number on the screen. A man answered on the second ring. Farid. No. I'm Destiny Williams. I'm with him. He's injured but alive. Silence on the other end. Then, thank God. Where are you? Before Destiny could answer, Farid snatched the phone from her hand. Daniel. Don't give the location. Farid's voice was weak but firm. Send the documents to the email we agreed on. We'll meet tomorrow at 9 at the company office. If I don't show up, you know what to do. He hung up and looked at Destiny. Why didn't you say where we are? Because Daniel Chun has been my lawyer for 15 years. Farid closed his eyes. But he's also been my brother's best friend since university. Destiny's blood ran cold. You think he... I don't know who to trust anymore. Farid's voice was an exhausted whisper. Except you. And that scares me more than any bullet. The following hours passed in tense silence. Destiny fed Nadia, checked Farid's bandages, watched through the window. The forest remained quiet. Too quiet. At 3 a.m, Nadia woke up crying. Destiny picked her up, rocking her gently, when she heard the sound. Car engine. On the dirt road. Farid. She whispered urgently. Someone's coming. He was on his feet before she finished the sentence, gun in hand despite the obvious pain. How many? Destiny peeked through a crack in the curtain. 2 black SUVs. At least 6 men emerging, all armed. Too many. Back door. Leads to the forest. Farid staggered toward her, taking Nadia with his good arm. You run. Don't look back. Understand? I'm not leaving you here. Destiny. His eyes burned in the darkness. My daughter needs to live. That's all that matters. The front door exploded before she could respond. The next seconds happened in slow motion. Destiny saw Farid push Nadia into her arms. Saw him turn, gun raised, shooting the first man who entered. Saw 2 more fall before someone hit Farid in the chest. No. The scream tore from Destiny's throat. But she did what he asked. She ran. Through the back door, into the dark forest. Nadia pressed against her chest. Branches scratched her face. Roots threatened to trip her. She didn't stop. Didn't look back. Ran until her lungs burned, until her legs gave out, until she fell to her knees in a clearing. Nadia was crying softly. Destiny was crying too, silent tears streaming down as she rocked the baby. She had failed. Again. Just like with her mother. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Destiny turned, ready to fight, to bite, to do anything to protect this child. But it wasn't a killer. It was Daniel Chun, the lawyer. Alone, unarmed, hands raised. Destiny Williams. I need you to come with me. You brought them here. Her voice was pure venom. You betrayed him. No. Daniel approached slowly. I saved him. The men at the cabin? They're mine. Private security I hired when I discovered what Tarek was planning. Destiny didn't move. Why would I believe you? Because Farid is alive. Daniel smiled slightly. Hurt, furious with me for not telling him the plan, but alive. And in 6 hours, he's going to walk into that board meeting and destroy his brother in front of everyone. The relief that flooded Destiny almost knocked her down. He's alive. Thanks to you. Daniel extended his hand. Now let's go. There's a baby who needs to see her father. The board meeting of Al Mansour Holdings happened at 9 a.m. sharp. 20 executives seated around a mahogany table valued at more than Destiny's annual salary. Tarek Al Mansour was at the center, smiling for the cameras, ready to sign the documents that would make him the new CEO. Then the door opened. Farid entered stumbling, supported by Daniel on one side and Destiny on the other. Nadia slept in the arms of the delivery woman who had saved their lives. The silence was absolute. Brother. Farid's voice cut through the air like a blade. Surprised to see me? Tarek's face lost all color. This is impossible. You're dead. Almost. Farid released his supports and walked to the table, each step costing visible agony. But here's the problem with hiring cheap assassins, Tarek. They miss. Daniel began projecting documents on the screen. Bank transactions. Messages. Call recordings. Each piece of evidence meticulously organized, each crime documented. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Embezzlement of corporate funds to pay the assassins. Daniel read the list like a death sentence. You're not going to prison, Tarek. You're going under it. Security guards entered through the side door. Not Tarek's men. Farid's men. Take him. Farid's voice was pure ice. Tarek tried to run. He didn't get far. As they dragged the brother out, screaming threats and empty promises, Farid finally allowed himself to collapse into a chair. Destiny was beside him in seconds. "It's over," she whispered. Farid looked at her, then at Nadia sleeping in her arms. And for the first time since she found him bleeding in that alley, she saw him smile for real. "No," he said softly. "It's just beginning." 6 months later, Destiny Williams stood before an audience of 200 people in the main hall of Chicago Children's Hospital. The same hospital where her mother had died 3 years earlier. The Nadia Al-Mansour Foundation was created with a simple purpose. Destiny read the speech with slightly trembling hands. "To ensure that no family goes through what I went through. That no one loses someone they love because they didn't have access to emergency training or basic medical resources." In the front row, Farid held Nadia on his lap. The baby had grown, her dark eyes shining with curiosity as she watched the woman who had saved her father's life on that rainy night. Destiny finished the speech to applause. She stepped down from the stage and walked toward them. "You were incredible," Farid said, standing to embrace her. "I was terrified." The two things aren't mutually exclusive. They walked together through the hospital gardens, Nadia babbling incomprehensible sounds between them. Autumn had arrived, painting the trees in gold and red. "Tariq's trial ended yesterday," Farid said after a long silence. 35 years. No possibility of parole. "How do you feel?" "Empty," he admitted. "My own brother tried to kill me for money. Tried to kill my daughter. And now he's in a cell for the rest of his life." Farid shook his head. "I should feel justice. I only feel sadness." Destiny held his hand. "That shows you're human." They stopped in front of a bench with a bronze plaque. "In memory of Grace Williams. Loving mother, dedicated nurse, eternal inspiration." Destiny had asked Farid to install the bench there. He asked no questions. Just made it happen. "Your mother would be proud of you," Farid said softly. "You didn't know her." "I didn't need to. I know you." He turned to face her. "You dropped your entire life to save a stranger and a baby. Risked everything without asking for anything in return. If your mother raised you like this, she was extraordinary." Destiny felt tears burning her eyes. "I spent 3 years blaming myself for her death. Thinking that if I had done more, acted faster. And then you found a man dying in an alley and did everything differently. I did what she would have done." Nadia reached her little arms toward Destiny, and she took the baby naturally, as she had done hundreds of times over the past months. The little girl nestled against her chest, completely at peace. "You know you don't need to work as a delivery driver anymore," Farid said. "The foundation needs a full-time director. The salary is generous. The benefits are excellent. And you'd have access to any medical school in the country, if you still want to finish your degree." Destiny laughed. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a life." Farid paused, looking nervous for the first time since she'd met him. "A life with purpose. With resources to make a difference. With a family that loves you." The last word hung in the air. Family. "Nadia asks for you every time you're not around." Farid stepped closer. "And I notice that I count the minutes until you show up again. So yes, family. If you want." Destiny looked at the baby in her arms. At the man she had saved. At the bench with her mother's name. At the impossible life that had built itself from one night of rain and blood. "I was a broke delivery driver," she said slowly. "Living in a crumbling apartment, drowning in debt, running from my own past. And now I'm the woman who saved a billionaire with tweezers and vodka." Destiny smiled. "I think family isn't such a scary proposition after that." Farid kissed her right there, in the hospital garden, with Nadia between them and autumn leaves falling around them. That rainy night 6 months before, Destiny had thought she was just making a delivery. Instead, she found something that all the tips in the world couldn't buy. A purpose. A family. A second chance. And it all started because she refused to let another person die in her arms. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments, Have you ever had a chance to help someone and didn't know what to do? Have you ever met someone who changed your life when you least expected it? Because sometimes, the scariest moment of our life becomes the most important. And sometimes, the person we save ends up saving us back.